Sorry guys, I had a slight technical problem there. So I've basically wrapped up the Wonderboy Burns fight. So Wonderboy was the pick for me. Quite like him in that spot, even though the takedown defence is a bit of an unknown with him. So main event time, the big one. Conor McGregor back, taking on Dustin Poirier in the rubber match. So Conor's turning over in the same year here. Fought Poirier back in, I think it was January. So we've got him back in July. So two fights in the same year is a good sign. Difficult fight to. Well, I don't think it is that difficult to unpick. Actually, there's quite a clear narrative as to how this fight's going to go. But as we know with MMA, things don't always work out how you expect. Hence the unpredictability of the sport. So they fought 6 months ago. Conor had a solid first round. Dustin came out, he tried to mix in the takedowns, couldn't keep Conor down, and Conor done okay in the clinch. In fact, he got the better of the clinch, I would say. And he definitely got the better at distance with the hands. He landed some big shots on Dustin that Dustin took well. The problem with Conor has always been down the stretch. I mean, since he's been in the UFC, he's tended to finish off everyone in the first or second round. He had the fight with Max that went 3 rounds. That was like 8 years ago. He had the rematch with Nate that went 5 rounds, which he won. And he did go into the fourth round against Khabib. But when he wins, generally, it tends to be pretty quickly, first or second round. Dustin Poirier has shown recently that he can go hard over 5 rounds and he can win fights late. So I definitely feel the longer the fight goes, the more it favours Dustin. We've seen Dustin go 5 against Dan Hooker. We saw him go 5 against Max Holloway. We saw him stop Gaethje in round 4. So we've got the win over Pettis in round 3. He's not going to gas. He's going to be able to go hard for 5 rounds. And Poirier cracks as well. I mean, looking back now, I don't really know how he used to make 145 because he looks very big at 155. You can see he's quite thick, very filled out, and he definitely cracks. In terms of the technical advantage, it obviously goes with Conor. He's the better technical fighter. I mean, you can watch the Dan Hooker fight with Poirier, and while he does have good hands and he does have good boxing, he's a lot more wild. He's hittable, but the difference maker in their last fight, in the rematch, was the calf kicks. They really caused Conor some problems. And the other thing I noticed as well, and I noticed this when I watched it live, is when Conor did go back to his corner after round 1, I did think he looked like he was slowing down a little bit. I think Poirier will come out here and mix in the takedowns again. We've already seen Conor start the mind games. Now, the dynamic looks like it's going to be a lot different for this fight. We'll see more as the week goes on. But the last fight, they was very amicable, very pally, no trash talk at all. But I think it's going to be a bit different this week. I think Conor is going to try and get into Dustin's head. We've already seen him saying to Dustin that if you go for takedowns, I can't remember exactly what he said, but something along the lines of, you're not a man if you're going for takedowns, stand and bang with me. I don't think Dustin's going to. Well, he's not going to fall into that trap. He's 32 years of age. I think the first fight, I think the occasion definitely got the better of Poirier, but you can see he's matured. I don't think that's going to work this time around. But let's see what Conor brings during fight week. I think he's going to ramp it up, and you never know. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen someone broken mentally as much as what Conor did to Jose Aldo. But I just think Poirier is going to be able to rise above it. He knows the tricks of the trade mentally. He knows what Conor's going to try. You've just got to treat it like water off a duck's back. I think he'll struggle to get into Poirier's head, and I really, really don't think he's going to lull Poirier into having a fist fight with him. Poirier's going to come out and try and mix in the takedowns. I'm sure of that. I mean, even if he's not getting the better of the clinch, he's not really in danger in the clinch. And it's all going to help to wear Conor out, because this definitely favours Poirier for me the longer it goes. Conor is very dangerous those first 2 rounds. Like I said in the first fight, he was getting the better of Poirier on the feet and he landed some big shots. I'm not sure where Conor's done his camp. I had a look at his Instagram. It looks like he's got like his own setup in America. I'm not sure who he's been training with and so forth. Obviously, Poirier's an American top team. So it'd be interesting to see as the week goes on, just finding out a little bit more about Conor's camp and if we find out who he's been training with and so forth. But it's definitely for me a tale of two halves. The first couple of rounds is Conor territory, even though I know Poirier knocked Conor out in the second round in the last fight. But Conor's going to have to make some adjustments. It's become very boxing centric as opposed to his older style, which was more a karate based style. So I wonder if we see him going back to that more here. The calf kick is definitely something he's going to have prepared for. I mean, he basically admitted he was completely unprepared for it in the first fight. I mean, maybe it was just an excuse, but I mean, he seemed completely unprepared for it. So it's going to be interesting to see how he comes out here. But he is always dangerous early, Conor. But Poirier's, we have seen him slept before. He got slept by Michael Johnson early. So with someone like Conor, that is not a low percentage outcome. It can definitely happen. But I'm just having a look when he was last KO'd, besides obviously when Conor done it in their first fight. Yeah, it's only Michael since. So, Poirier has shown to be pretty durable. And like I said, he took the shots off from Conor pretty well in the first fight, with a rematch. Didn't seem overly phased. I mean, when he got knocked out in the first fight, it was one of them kind of fluky shots behind the ear. So I just wonder if he can stand up to Conor's shots the first two rounds. I've got a feeling he can, and I just think he takes over down the stretch. I think he might stop Conor late. I'd love for Conor to win because I do wonder if Conor loses here. I wonder if we see him again. I mean, what's his motivation going to be? Because he wins here, he's going to get a title shot, and it's not Khabib waiting for him either. It's a winnable fight against Charles Oliveira. So, I tip my hat to Conor for actually still fighting. The guy's he's done unbelievable things with regards to his finances. Extremely rich. This guy doesn't need to fight for money. He's got generational wealth. His kids are, if he's smart with his money and his kids are smart with his money and his grandkids are smart with the money, he's sorted his family for generations to come. So there's no money motivation here for Conor. This must be all about him wanting to show that he's the best fighter in the world, and he might be a little bit. I know he gave all the bravado that he wanted the fight with Khabib, the rematch, but for Khabib to retire, that must have lit a little fire under him in terms of getting the belt back, because I'm sure he'd never admit it, but I'm sure he'd prefer to be facing Charles Oliveira for the belt than a rematch with Khabib. It's a much more winnable fight for him. So that might have given him a little bit of a boost. But the problem with Conor is how much past his prime is he, if he is past his prime. He kind of gave away his prime years. Eddie Alvarez fight back in 2016, he looks pretty unbeatable. Then he didn't fight in MMA for a couple of years. He had the Floyd Mayweather fight sandwiched in between. You obviously, there was a lot of stuff going on off the or away from the ring, antics, court troubles. He definitely went off the rails to some degree, and it's just I wonder how much that's affected him and cost him. He came back, the Cerrone fight. It was hard to take much from that. He won it so quick. It looked great, but I always say this: it's very hard to take stuff away from very quick wins. And in Poirier, he looked sharp early on with Poirier, but the way he just kind of withered away in that fight. And obviously the calf kicks played a role, but I just wonder where he's at compared to the kind of from. I mean, it's almost 5 years ago, that Alvarez fight. I do feel that he's probably, due to how he kind of was treating his body away from the ring and the layoff and everything. I just wonder if there's been some slight regression. I don't think we're going to come out and see. I don't think he's going to come out and we're going to see a best version of Conor, unfortunately. But I would love for him to win, because it's always great when Conor's in the fight game. The fight of Oliveira would be great. It's a winnable fight for him. But if he loses, I just, I wonder if we see him again. Where's the motivation? He would have dropped down the rung for a title shot. He would have lost 3 of his last 4 MMA fights, 4 of his last 5 if you include the Mayweather fight. You'd be looking at 1 win since 2016 and a quick win over let's be honest, a declined Donald Cerrone. So I'm excited to see Conor back, but I just worry. I hope he proves me wrong. But I just think down the stretch, this is Dustin's fight. He's shown he can go hard for 5. He's got good cardio and he cracks as well. And we saw that in the last fight I know he limited Conor's footwork and ability to move with the calf kick, but he put him away with punches, put him to sleep, in fact. So, and I wonder how that affects Conor mentally as well, because it was only 6 months ago. I think it's the first time he's been knocked out, properly. I know Mayweather stopped him, but it's more an attritional loss. I wonder how that affects someone of Conor's confidence, if it does at all. If Dustin had that coming into the rematch, he got knocked out, but it was a long time ago, and it was a shot behind the ear. These were hard, cold punches on the chin that put Conor away. So I wonder how that's going to play with Conor. Is that going to make Conor a little bit hesitant, maybe? And I'm really intrigued about how he comes out with his stance here, whether he's gone back to that more karate-based stance, or is he going to be looking more boxing-centric still? And how he's going to try and deal with the calf kick. So, really looking forward to it. I always look forward to Conor fights. From a betting perspective, I don't really like the money line on Dustin. He's been bet, and I think the line's about right now. I think if you bet Dustin as the underdog, I think it's a decent bet. I just like to enjoy Conor McGregor fights, to be totally honest with you. I tend not to bet him. I don't really like having action on his fights. I just like to sit back and relax, soak up the atmosphere and enjoy the fight. And I'm a bettor. It's my full-time job. So, if there's an angle or a lean, you should probably bet it. But I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. I don't want the stress of, and I really do want Conor to win. And if I was going to bet it, my action would probably be on Dustin. So I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. But from a betting perspective, I can't fault anyone looking at Conor round 1, round 2, and then I can't fault anyone looking at Dustin round 3 onwards. If you like your round props, I think some books will offer Dustin round 4, 5 decision. I can't blame anyone for looking at that. But then, we go back to the rematch and Dustin did win in round 2. So what I'm saying might not even transpire. Who knows? That calf kick's such a deadly weapon, and it's a pain as a bettor. If you've bet on a guy and they start eating calf kicks, it's the worst feeling, because you feel their pain, because you know that your money's probably going down the toilet. So, that is an equaliser that Conor needs to deal with. But I'm really intrigued to see how he plays fight week. I think there's going to be a lot more verbal. I think he is going to kind of try and get in Dustin's head more. I'm really intrigued, because it was very pally last time, and Conor was like that with Cerrone as well. But I think the mind games will increase. So I'm intrigued to see how the week plays out. But as for a pick, I am going to pick Poirier, but my heart wants Conor to win. So I really hope Conor can come out. But history tells us that once a fighter maybe looks like they're starting to drop from the peak of their powers, there's not normally the fairy tale ending. And Poirier, I would say, is in his prime, whereas Conor, I don't know. And the silk pajamas analogy always springs to mind. And I know I said Conor's probably got a bit of extra motivation because the title is winnable for him. Like I said, he would prefer Oliveira. He'll never admit it, but he would prefer to face Charles Oliveira than Khabib, I'm sure. But at the same time, he doesn't need to be doing this. There's no financial... Well, there is financial gain for him, of course there is, but you know, whatever he gets from this fight, I'm sure it's just a dip in the ocean compared to the wealth he's already established. So it's not money for him, you know. Whereas Dustin, you know, he's still hungry. He's never been the champion. He wants the belt. You know, he's still going to be fighting for big paydays as well. So I just wonder when the going gets tough if that little bit of grit, just through want, will come to the fore and just be enough for Dustin to outlast Conor. But you know, you're a brave man always betting against Conor, because you just don't know. You know, Conor could come out here and put him away in the first round. You know, you definitely can't write Conor off. But just going with my experience betting and watching fights, Conor will do very well to win this fight, in my opinion. But like I said, I'd love him to win it. But my pick is going to be Dustin Poirier. But I don't think there's really any value on the money line now. I'd pass with Dustin as the favourite, sitting out at -130. If I was going to bet it, I'd look more at the prop angle. So your Conor early or your Dustin second half of the fight, personally. But it might even be a good live bet fight, because Conor likely wins round one. I'd be surprised. I mean, if Conor doesn't win round one, then, you know, I don't think he's got a shot of winning the fight. But he likely does win round one. That would probably swing Conor to being the favourite on the books. So if your theory is Dustin comes on late, then there's a good opportunity to get a live bet in. So for me, I will live bet it. Like I said, I do want to relax, but if I do see a line that I think is off, I will still take it on live bet. But in terms of pre-bets, it's a pass fight for me. But Poirier's the pick, but my heart wants Conor to win. So that wraps up the card, guys. Haven't picked nearly as many dogs on this card as I have the last few cards. I think I've only picked 3 underdogs. But having said that, I wouldn't be surprised if the dogs do bark again, because, I mean, the first fight of the night, I didn't make a pick. You could definitely have an underdog winning there. Jessica I, as much as I said I think she's regressed, it's still lower level women's MMA. I wouldn't be shocked if she wins a close decision. Wouldn't surprise me. I picked Nika. Carlos Condit, I wouldn't be shocked if Condit wins that fight. It wouldn't surprise me. Max Griffin at -200 is just no bueno. So another dog there possibly could come through. And then I picked Tai Tuivasa, but Greg Hardy winning, that wouldn't surprise me at all. So even Conor McGregor wouldn't shock me if he comes through. He's the underdog. So you could find it could be another, you know, fairly even night in terms of faves winning and dogs winning. But I've only gone for the 3 dogs, but maybe I should have pulled the trigger on a couple more thinking about it. But I'll stick with what I've picked for now. But yeah, I don't think it's an easy card. It's another card where I don't feel it's clear that the faves are going to come out on top. I definitely think there's some live underdogs, and some of the lines are just too wide. Like, you can understand Griffin and Maya being the favourites 100%, but the lines just feel a little bit wide. Max Griffin -200. That's not the kind of price I want to pay on Max Griffin. So, but good luck with your bets, guys. I'm going to try and do the pod. Well, I am going to do the pod every Monday for now, and I'm going to get it out nice and early, get it out of the way. Gives everyone then a week to, you know, do their own analysis and so forth. We've got UFC for definitely the next few weeks at least. So I'll be back to do the card next week. I'll bash it out on Monday. Good luck with your bets. Hope you all make some money. Remember, premium service is offered. ProMMABetting.com. Packages available on the website. £100 per unit members who have been with me for 3 years, just over 3 years now, are up around £28,000. So that's if you utilise the pre-betting and live betting service, and everything's tracked as well, guys. Give me a follow on Twitter at ProMMABetting, and any likes are appreciated for this video. Good luck, everyone. Speak soon.